I know one of the next speakers is Preston from DivInc. DivInc's and also a great program here. I first met Preston as a mentor here. He's been a mentor for a number of years, and then he's created the DivInc program, and we've been so happy to be able to support that, and so glad that they're here, because exactly what I said, they continue to bring in all kinds of interesting different people that might not always come here by themselves, and we love having them be part of our community. So. Am I handing it straight off to Preston?
Yes, please.
Awesome. Let's give a round of applause for Preston.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Good morning. Come on, y'all need to give it better to me. Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Good morning. All right. So I am the CEO and founder of DivInc. I am super excited to be here this morning. I'm supposed to be in Dallas with my kiddos, and I'm like, no, I must be here today. All right, I gotta be here today. I am so proud to be here. This is great to see. And let me tell you a little bit about DivInc. DivInc started about 2 years ago, and we believe it's where diversity and inclusion drive innovation. And we are a startup accelerator. And we actually have a 12-week program. And in that program, essentially our focus is to help early-stage entrepreneurs, people of color and women specifically, overcome the barriers, right? Access to capital, access to resources, the networks, to build successful high-growth businesses. And since September of 2016, we've actually conducted 4 cohorts. And since that time, we've launched 36 companies founded by people of color and women founders. And those companies today are thriving, right? We have companies by Tito Salas called Coders Link. He came to us, he was 2 people, him and his co-founder. Today, Tito has about 18 employees doing $3 million in revenue, right? And he has not had to seek any outside funding. He's scaling and growing, moving offices over and starting offices in Mexico, as well as here in the US. And that's an example of what we are doing here in Austin. And we're starting here, right? And we want to expand, right? But here's the really key thing. The key thing for us is that not only are we helping these entrepreneurs and welcoming these entrepreneurs, right, with your ideas, because we believe the innovation exists in all of us. It's what you do with it and gain access to the resources to do with it. But what's really, really key is building these authentically inclusive cultures that help folks thrive, right? Where you're comfortable and you be vulnerable, right, to be successful in what you do. So we have an open door. We want our Latino brothers and sisters, right, African Americans, LGBTQ, right, to come and help build growth businesses. Why? Because we know the economic impact, the social impact in our communities is huge, right? So we're excited. We want you to come and join us. If you want to be a mentor, if you're an entrepreneur, come and talk to me, right? And then also my partner, Monica Morales back there, you can come talk to us, and we can help direct you. Either you work with us directly, or we'll help you in your journey to be a successful entrepreneur. All right? Is that good? All right. So before I kick off, I see some glasses and some flags out there. So I want glasses up to celebrate the Latino community today, right? And where we go from here, this is the springboard to what we're going to be doing over the next 4 or 5 years. So cheers. All right. Now, let me introduce you to, got a nice buzz now. So if my questions are a little bit slurred, don't worry about it. But here's the deal. So I want to introduce you to a couple of great friends of mine that are here in the Austin community, leaders in entrepreneurship, leaders in the corporate and also educational environment, to come up and talk to us about what can corporations do to better support Latino entrepreneurs. So first I want to introduce Rebecca Gonzalez. And Rebecca, longtime friend, she's an exceptional marketing person, relationship and alliances marketing consultant, and she's with Bridge Partners today as a director. She's a graduate of Southern Methodist University, and Southern Methodist in the house? Okay. One.
Hey, that's
But
good.
it's good.
I accept it. It's good. I take it.
And Rebecca has extensive background in working at corporations in marketing as a marketing leader. And she was also an associate director, executive director for Avende, which was a startup accelerator focused on women entrepreneurs. Oh, how many years ago? A few years back?
A couple years back.
A few years back. So she's been on the corporate side, entrepreneur, and then also and on nonprofit active as well. So please welcome Rebecca Gonzalez. And then next, also another dear friend, Mr. Phil Pompa, who is actually a consultant partner at JL Powers and Associates. But Phil has had an extensive background as a CEO at Sigmatel, Motorola, a number of corporations. He's had a very extensive leadership background with the Latino Business Action Network that's based out of Stanford University. He's undergrad Stanford, MBA at Stanford, extremely passionate about helping Latino entrepreneurs. He's also been an investor, mentor, and both of them are heavily involved with DivInc as well. So please welcome Phil Pompa to the stage.
Hey.
All right, so I'm going to kick this off. Let me sit down with my champagne over here. All right, so I want to basically kick this off, and I'm going to ask probably about 3 or 4 questions and then kind of open it up, hopefully, for some open dialogue with all of you. Does that work? Okay. So first question. Both of you have been involved on the corporate side and also on the entrepreneurship side. And, I would really want to know what is the value proposition, right? Because everybody says, hey, we need more assistance and guidance and, so on and so forth. But what is really the value proposition for corporations to better support Latino entrepreneurs? What is the why, the what, and the how for corporations to support Latino entrepreneurs? Phil, you want to?
Sure, I'd be happy to start it out. Really what it comes down to is the following, it's opportunity, and it's economic opportunity for these corporations. The reality is today is that there's very little support for Latino entrepreneurs from U.S. corporations. Just it's secondary in nature, and we can go into more details about that. But I think the main thing that Rebecca and I'd like to talk about today is why this is a missed opportunity. You all represent missed opportunities for large corporate America today, and I think that's really what it comes down to. I don't know if you want to add any more.
So when we were talking about this, one of the main reasons is the growth of the Latino community. As we grow as consumers, which is a no-brainer, right? More of us here, more of us buying power. But then as we start businesses, the corporate opportunity not only to sell to us, because obviously corporations are B2C, and then there's the corporate opportunity to sell with us, right? And as those two areas grow, if corporations are not selling to us or selling with us, it's a huge multi-million-dollar opportunity that they're missing, right? If they're not speaking to us directly in a way that resonates with us, and if they're not reaching out across the business aisle to partner with us, that's a huge missed opportunity.
So if I may, let me tell you, I'm going to give you some numbers here today because I think I'm representing the research side of things here today. All of the numbers I'm going to give you are available in a couple of different areas. One is if you go to lban.us and you look under programs and under research, you'll see 3 years of published research on Latino businesses in the United States. That's one point. The more recent information is also available, and the URL's a little long, so I just ask you to Google New York Fed, as in the Federal Reserve Bank. You do New York Fed and Latino-owned businesses, you'll see a report that was just published by the New York Fed on November 13th of this year. And I think both of those documents or both of those reports will be very, very useful. But what it comes down to, Rebecca just pointed out, was there's two aspects. So on the business to consumer portion of the market for the Latino businesses, you need to understand Latinos in the United States, the GDP of Latinos in the United States is $2.13 trillion. So if we were, the Latinos in the US were our own entity, own country, we'd be the 7th largest GDP in the world. Larger than Italy, larger than India, larger than Canada. Okay, so in terms of the consumer marketplace that we represent, so to the corporations of the world, understanding that market better, either by your own employees, but also by working with startups, would represent a growth market for you. If you then look at Latino businesses in the US, from 2007 to 2012, there were 47% growth rate during that time period. During the same time period, from 2007 to 2012, white-owned businesses shrunk 6%, while we grew 47%. By the way, during that same time period, Latina-owned businesses grew 87%.
All right, now let's go.
Okay?
Yep.
Come on. All right.
So-
Just had to wake y'all up.
Yeah. So, anyway, so there's just a bunch of data like that shows what the growth rates are. It's, depending on which data you use, it's anywhere from, the estimates are between 4.4 million Latino-owned businesses in the US to as high as 5.1 million businesses in the US. Census Bureau, by the way, is trying to figure out how to get a better number on that, especially under some of the reduced funding they now have. But we're working with that. And by the way, to back up on this, if I may for a second, do my own advertisement here. So the Stanford program, the Latino Business Action Network is a separate nonprofit. And what we do is we raise the money there and then we fund the work at Stanford. So that to explain why I'm using two different names. So the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative has two things. The research, which will be publishing the 4th year of research on January 25th of next year. So that's one thing. The other aspect is we have an education program. If you have a business that either has over $1 million in revenue or as a startup you raised over $500,000 of external funding, we have a 6-week online course available to you that starts with a weekend at Stanford and finishes with a weekend at Stanford that helps you hone your strategy as a corporation. Of the people that have gone through that program right now, it's now been over, let's see, where are we up to? 440 alumni in that program, 25 plus states represented, with over $1.3 billion in revenue represented in those companies. So there's that aspect of things. So again, I'd ask for if you're already funded, and the reason we do that, I'll be honest with you, is we have to be careful with the slots, and we try to make sure that people have kind of they're already at a point of being sustainable. And so that's why we're not really early stage. We're kind of later stage kind of support.
So let me ask this. Did you guys hear the value proposition in there? Right? In a nutshell, we are rocking, we are rolling, right? But we're not even really getting the full support to reach our full potential. That's what I'm hearing. Right? Are you guys hearing that? I just want to make sure, right? Because the data points are very enlightening, and I've talked to a lot of people, corporations and so forth, and even within the community itself, that people are not familiar with those data points, right? Now, one thing I will add, and again, here is another opportunity, in that data which says that we've had tremendous growth and success, there's also another really interesting data point about what percentage of Latino-owned businesses are sole proprietor businesses versus employers, okay? And sole proprietorships are absolutely fine. They're fine, right? But there is opportunity to become job creators, income generators, wealth generators by building employer-based businesses. So whether you hire 3 people, 5 people, 50, or 100, right? The job creation and the wealth generation lifts our community up exponentially compared to if we just had, if we had 10 million sole proprietorships, right? and a small percentage of employers, right? We're not reaching our full potential, right? And so how many of folks are here are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs? Just by a show of hands. Okay. So I'm not telling you, actually I am. We want you to build scalable growth businesses, whether it's tech or not. I'm not going to be overly concerned, right? But the deal is to think big and grow big and become employers so we can, as a community, be greater contributors, right, to the economic development of not the United States, just the United States, but our communities, right? So I just want you to keep that in mind. So the value proposition is very, very strong. So let me ask you this. So now we get to the corporations. I'm a 25, 30-year corporate guy, and then made the transition to the startup community, working with DivInc, and I'm engaging with corporations on a daily basis. And I do see that there is an opportunity to do more, right? What are corporations? What are some good examples today, if you know of any? If they're not, that's cool. Like we discussed, that's if we're not aware of any, and we are the leaders within our community, that's a problem, right? That we need to fix. But if there are some good examples, can you share them with us? And then can we do more of that?
Can I ask a question real quick? We just asked who's entrepreneurial or entrepreneurs. Who actually works in a big corporation right now? Awesome. So we're talking to you specifically about this, right? So we are not aware, neither one of us are aware of a specific corporate initiative to fund or support Latino or Latinx enterprises currently, or startups or entrepreneurs. Now, there are lots of them, right? There's Google for entrepreneurs, Apple for entrepreneurs, Dell for entrepreneurs. There's a lot of those. And we talked about the value prop that exists. But what we want to make sure, another piece that we want you to take from this, is whether you're in a corporation or not, there are ways to engage that will help your enterprise. Supplier diversity. There's nothing sexy about supplier diversity, I'm sorry. I know you guys don't want to walk away going, oh, supplier diversity, that's amazing. It's not sexy, I get it. But these are programs that have been in place in corporations for years. It go through procurement. It's not really, sometimes it's through the diversity department, but a lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's directly through procurement. If you have a company and you feel like you have a service that you can provide to a big corporation, that's where you enter. And the way they help you, they buy your products, right? They give you revenue. That's a really good place to start. But at the same time, you also need to understand that large corporations are not altruistic entities. They are not here to raise up the Latino community. They're not here to raise up any community. They're here for their shareholders. That's the bottom line. Corporations exist to enrich their shareholders. And it's the basics of capitalism, right? So they're not going to do it because they want to help you. They're not going to do it because they're really good people at heart. And I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying you have to give them that value prop. Here's why you should do business with me. If you're in affinity group, I was at Dell when we started the affinity groups back in a couple years ago. When we started the affinity groups, and the first thing the affinity groups did is reach out to nonprofits, and I love that. And that was a great place for us to start. But let's talk about where we can take these affinity groups. Maybe these affinity groups say, amazing IBM, amazing Apple, we love that you have this Latino affinity group, but maybe we want to help entrepreneurs instead of our nonprofits. I'm not saying we take money away from the nonprofits. It definitely, these deserve our support.
Don't do that.
I know, they do deserve our support. But what I'm saying is let's expand our focus. Maybe we focus on one entrepreneurial exercise and one nonprofit exercise instead of just keeping the focus. I think we need to think bigger, is basically what I'm saying. And take these affinity groups, we already have them, they already have wonderful programs, and how can we expand them and how can we help the community in other ways? Because building wealth for the community is just as good as building nonprofits for the community.
So Phil, I'm gonna let you answer that
Go ahead.
as well. The other thing, I wanted to actually, I lost my train of thought. So, Phil, go ahead.
Let me add into
I'll come
this,
back.
so if I may. So let me ask a question. So how many of the entrepreneurs, how many of them are doing anything that's cloud-based? Cloud-based, anybody doing cloud-based stuff? So an example is there's a number of programs out there from whether it's from Amazon or Microsoft or whatever that provide cloud services for reduced costs, if over time. But those are just for startups in general. But I think what the opportunity is I don't know how many people really know about all of that, and because they're not, quite frankly, they're not marketing to this community. Okay, and they need to understand is that where we go for our information may be the same, may be different. What speaks to us may be the same, may be different. If you look at the consumers, Rec and I have talked about this, is some of the companies have figured this out. To me, the ones that figured it out are Pepsi, as examples. There's a reason why Sofia Vergara was the spokesperson for them for a while. You take a look at the Ford, Toyota truck groups that take a look at Target and Walmart. Okay, and so you look, and I think it's very smart advertising that they're doing. And you take a look at Walmart, it's not in your face, over the head, it's not an ad in Spanish, okay? It's an ad about family values, and it's also supported by low prices and things. And I'm not a Walmart, I own no Walmart stock. So but I got to give,
your financial
exactly,
relationship with Walmart.
yeah. So my taxes will be available online now. So it's a whole other thing I won't go into. But I'm just saying I recognize smart marketing, and to me that's smart marketing because they are speaking to our community in a very, very subtle way. But it's one that works. So I got to give them kudos. So I think there's some of those companies that are understanding, but they're understanding the consumer side. What they don't seem to understand is what is on the business side of what's going to approach the people that are looking for cloud services. Okay, what are the folks that are looking for banking? Okay, for banking, our community, and research shows, are completely underbanked. Okay, some of this is because of the way we were raised. Forget debt. What are you doing with debt? Well, or you go ask somebody that maybe a recent immigrant from another country, and you go, well, I'm going to go to the bank. You don't go to a bank. I said, well, the interest rates are 20. I said, no, this is U.S. banking. It's a little bit different, and you have to explain that. But again, the aversion to debt by a number of our families and our backgrounds, it may be different in each of our families, but there's a good number of us that it's like it's the last thing you do. But, so what you do is what you find with all the startups is everybody uses their own funding and their own credit cards and things like that. And guess what? You can't scale as well when you do that. Anyway.
All right, so let me, I'm gonna go back to one of Rebecca's points. I know I'm running short on time. With regards to corporates and the supply diversity, I think it's an opportunity. The challenge with some of the supply diversity is your company needs to be fairly mature, right? And so you need to be able to have scale and be able to support, your infrastructure to be able to support the procurement requirements of a corporation. So that challenge for me is, yes, that's a path, but what about the early stage companies that need to validate a new product, that need to get some initial customers, right, that need to generate some early revenue? So I challenge the corporations, those who raised their hand, to really kind of tap into the affinity groups, right, and get connected into the entrepreneurship community, right? And there are organizations. There's Divink, there's Latinas in Tech, Latinitas are here as well. There are various organizations that the affinity groups, as the leaders for their corporations, can reach out.
Yes.
Now, I am guilty. When I was at Dell, I was associated with the affinity groups, and I can be completely honest, I had no idea what was going on in the startup community here in Austin. And most of you are from cities that are much bigger than Austin. So Austin's not that big, and to not know 15, 20 minutes away what was happening in the startup community, I would imagine that's the same challenge you have. So you need to get out of your comfort zone and reach out and see what you can do, and then take back the initiative of how do we help these Latino entrepreneurs, right? And so, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that. The last piece I'm going to give you also is to, please plug in, right? Phil talked about the aversion, what we're used to and what we're not used to. The entrepreneurship journey, in particular the startup entrepreneurship journey, is hard, it's different, it's uncomfortable, okay? And it's risky. And we need to step out of that zone, right? All of us on the corporate side as well as entrepreneurship side, and connect. Because together we can empower each other, right? Together as we learn from different entities, right? When you talk about diversity and inclusion in corporate or diversity and inclusion in Capital Factory, and Josh mentioned it, how we learn and how we do better as a business, we're all working together. So we need to rise up on both ends and seize this opportunity. This population here is going to be the number one, and I hate to use the word minority, the number one underrepresented population in America, and it's going to continue to grow. We must rise up. Mm-hmm. The businesses must rise. The communities must continue to rise and grow. The talent is here. There's no question about the talent. There's no question about the innovation and creativity and all of that. Let's rise up and contribute on the highest level that we possibly can. Okay? So I'm told I have to wrap up, but I was like, I'm ready to go. I'm just getting started. we fill the train. So anyway, I want to thank my panelists, Phil and Rebecca. Will be around for a short time. Thank you so much, and raise it up. Thank you.